Okay, welcome back to the shop, guys. It's been a while since I really put up a video. It's been a tough winter for a number of reasons, but we're back. Have a few things here I'm very excited to show you guys, and I've been getting some questions, so I figured I'd just make a quick basic little video here, just kind of giving the rundown of the basics. So these foils here are what I'm calling the carbon series. That's what they're named on the website as, and they are fully ready to go, fully built foils, so you don't have to glass anything. It's just unbox it, piece it together, and it's good to go. And it took a while to figure out how to be able to make these and get the price just right and all of that, but I spent most of the winter working on that, and yeah, I've kind of got it nailed down, and so these are ready to go. I have a bunch of these right now, and so I have three sizes. This is the 3000 size wing, the 2300, and then over there is the 1500. So those are the three sizes right now. I've got a bunch of each at the moment, but that usually changes day to day. So I had initially started working on these last September, maybe. I had one prototype done in September, and it was actually a 3000 size. And so I rode that pretty aggressively all the way until really the winter set in. So I had a few good months on it, just testing it out and making sure everything was up to date. I did actually remake a few of them. I wanted to strengthen certain areas, and I had that. So the design is there. I know it's good to go. So right here, just for the example, I have the 1500, and I took a totally different approach as to making these. I read up and looked into how a lot of other composite parts are put together, and I kind of came up with, I mixed it all together as to what I can do here and what will work, and I'm pretty happy with what came out. So of course we got the foam core wing, and it's glassed with a nice glassing schedule, and one thing is in the front, everything is doubled on this leading edge, so real thick, heavy duty leading edge there. And then, of course, on the trailing edges, I have it's basically solid glass on the trailing edge, so a very strong trailing edge as well. And then I have some carbon right here on the top side, and also on the bottom. I don't have bolts in this one right now, but 3 bolts go right there, 2 bolts on the rear wing, and then your 2 bolts going into your mast, which sits right on this flat spot right here. And so the glass and carbon tunnel wing makes for a really lightweight but pretty economical wing. And then the fuselage is wood core, but all the strength is obviously coming from carbon. There's a lot of carbon in there, especially it gets pretty beefy up towards this front end between this tunnel insert and where the mast goes, because that's where all the strength is going to be. That's where I did a lot of revisions, was right in here. And then that's the swoosh tail in the back, and so that's, if you're familiar with that, that's just the wood core. It's then carboned, so pretty light, very strong, good solid tail. And then for the base plate, it's pretty much a solid carbon base. Just a nice matte sanded finish, and yeah, there's a little bit of a wood core at the very bottom just to form that shape, and then it's completely covered in carbon, and then really beefy insert for the mast. And so for the masts, it's just those same aluminum masts. That's the most economical, and the aluminum can be a bit stiffer depending on what kind of carbon mast you compare it to. But just for an example, this is obviously a chopped up mast, but this is how one thing that again is different is instead of say machining out this insert, it's direct molded from chopped up bits of mast. So it's a really tight fitting joint right there. Like it takes a bit of wiggling to get it all the way seated to the bottom, and then of course you put in your double M8 bolts in the bottom there. So that's something that's pretty cool, is just how tight of a joint this is. And the same goes for the fuselage connecting into the wing. So if we were to pop this out right here, this wing is fitted for this exact fuselage right here. This fuselage is made well before the wing. Like, I have a whole bunch of these already made and just stacked up, ready to go. And so once the wing reaches the stage where it's time to fit in the fuselage, it's direct molded from this exact fuselage. So these two are now going to stay as a pair throughout the rest of the fabrication process, and then they'll be sold as a pair, because a different fuselage is going to fit slightly different into this joint. And so to get that perfect fit, I keep them nice and paired up. And it really makes, it's incredibly tight fitting. This one isn't even all the way in. If this was fully seated down into the tunnel, you kind of have to almost sit down to be able to pull out the fuselage. That's how tight and precise it fits in there. So that's something that's really cool, is just how firm and tight that connection is. So it is fully, I mean, it comes completely apart. So our wing pops off, and then our mast unbolts here, and our mast the mast also comes out of the base plate. Again, very tight fitting, but that breaks down there. And then of course the stabilizer comes right off there. So all stainless hardware in here, stainless bolts into the stainless inserts. So there's just a little bit of an idea as far as the size goes, all stacked up, the 3000, 23, 1500. That pretty much covers all the ranges. I know the 3000 is pretty new. I don't have a kit version of this wing yet, but I plan to have that in the coming weeks. But this thing's an absolute beast. It is just a massive wing. So that's pretty much it. I kind of just came up with what I thought was a great all-around foil that I could. So yeah, just to give a little bit of an idea, back here in the storeroom, which is in desperate need of a vacuum, next to the giant mountain of foam blanks here. So a whole bunch of the, again, the 3 different sizes, a whole bunch of fuselages ready to go to be matched up to any foil, and then a massive box full of a whole bunch of base plates. And I also do plan, for those who are interested, to have a carbon version of the for like a build it yourself kit. And then also over here in the other corner of the storeroom, something else that's pretty cool, and it again took a lot of trial and error, but kind of nailed down how to build it and glass them up and whatnot. But I'm coming out with a whole bunch of new boards, and so these are obviously foam instead of the wooden shorty. Is great, that thing's tough as nails, pretty easy to build. These require obviously a lot, not a lot more, but just a bit more glass, and I like to put a little carbon patch over the tracks in the back here. A little bit more involved in the build, but I am in the process of filming that build video now, and so once that's done, these will be available, so look out for those. They're coming in 2 sizes. All right, back to the main shop. That was a little too cramped back in there, but yeah, so I have the the 3-foot size board right here, and obviously the tracks mount right into this wooden piece, so these get glued into this wooden piece, and then at the same time we take this wooden piece and glue it down in there, so that the tracks are very solidly mounted in there. A lot of boards normally use very high density foam, which is great but also very expensive, so I went away with the high density foam. Kind of just gave up a little bit of weight there, but I think it's still, in the end, once the board is fully built up, it still weighs, it's incredibly light, especially paired with the carbon and glass foils. The whole rig is extremely lightweight. And so another benefit of these foam boards is there's a lot of extra volume in there, so a lot of extra flotation. And then towards the front here, we get a lot more rocker than, say, the wooden shorty board would have, so that's also great. And then flipping it over there, it might be hard to, let's see if we can get this in the light here. I'm not sure we'll be able to pick it up, but there is a nice concave going in here. There we go, there you can see it. And very subtle, but when you're standing on it, it just feels great on your foot because it kind of just locks it right in on the center of the board. So I've really enjoyed that. And so I've done a lot with the little one so far. I'm going to be doing the build video with the larger board, and that thing's the perfect size, especially for learning. It's a way more forgiving board than the smaller boards. And with that extra nose rocker and the volume to float, it just makes for a much more forgiving and easier water starting type of board. So those are a couple things to look out for in the next couple of weeks. Again, I won't offer them up until the build video is done because it just makes it easier for everybody that way. So we'll just throw in a couple of random other things that I've been kind of forced to do, just friends saying, hey, you should do this, you should do that. So I do have these longboards ready to go, and they come, of course, in a kit version. This one in particular has an epoxy inlay, and so if you can see, it's a little bit translucent, so when you glass it up, it's really cool. You can kind of see through it and light shines through. But yeah, it's kind of a longboard built completely different. I wanted the solid wood because I like that, and the other thing I kind of worked in, especially with the CNC, is they're milled, so it's got a nice concave deck. Again, a little bit difficult to show there. And we got some nice wheel inserts here. Just a overall pretty cool thing here. We got nice grip on the top too. And it's got incredible flex because this is glassed up as well. A couple layers of glass on each side, and so it's like building a longboard, but you build it like a surfboard, I guess, with the fiberglass, and it just makes it's a pretty unique feel when you pick it up. Like, a lot of people pick it up, and I don't know of a lot of other boards built this way, and so it has a totally unique feel to it and a nice soft polish, and then a ridiculous amount of flex. Like, you can jump in the center of that board as hard as you possibly can, and it'll go all the way to the floor before you almost can't break it. So anyways, that's something pretty cool, again, to look out for. I have the build video done for these, so these are a lot of fun. And so last thing here, I promise, is something that hopefully might come out soon. Again, there's still a lot to be done with it, is twin tip kiteboard kits. I've always made twin tips and ridden them, so I like to do that. And I know a lot of other people kind of like that stuff too, and it's actually a very easy build, and it's pretty therapeutic to do. But this was this was a prototype I came out. I'm probably going to go away with the two pieces. My idea was this would be easier to ship. It's also a bit easier to make this way, And I experimented. The idea was you use some epoxy in here. It fits together quite precisely, and the joint is actually incredibly strong. Like, the wood breaks before the joint does, but I do think I'm going to go with one solid piece. I just have to, again, experiment a little bit more with that. But pretty cool here is, so again, you have spots for fins to go in, to drill through when it's built. It's got a solid epoxy rail going all the way around, which is very durable. And then I'm still experimenting on exactly how many inserts and where, but you'll be able to place how wide you want your stance to be, all that type of stuff. And yeah, when you can, and I've over the years, again, worked up some techniques to be able to get a nice rocker into this board. And then also, if you do want a little bit of a concave on the bottom side, you can get that done as well. And no need for a rocker table or anything like that. It's kind of it takes a few days. You need to have some patience. It involves like wetting out some areas of the wood and then bending it and letting it dry. Pretty simple, but works really well. So hopefully we'll see how these go. Again, I want to do the whole one piece, and hopefully I'll have a few different sizes of these to go, at least for the summer. But for now, it's kind of just a back project I've been working on.